You are manipulative. You are. And every time you get called out for your behavior, you want to cry and you want to say, I'm done with this. I'm not having this conversation. Hi, guys. Welcome back to Jasmine's Watch Party. My name is Jasmine, and today we're diving into the Ultimatum Season 4, Episodes 5 and 6. Before we get started, if you are also watching the Ultimatum or you just enjoy these videos, please go ahead and click that subscribe button, drop a like, and let's get straight on into it. So just like last time, I will be watching the episodes and reacting while I watch the episodes. Like, dude, I'm 2 minutes into the episode. 2 minutes in. So we pick up where we left off with Hayley and Killian, where Hayley confronted Killian, but now Hayley is with her aunt. And she has pictures of the text messages that she was accusing Killian of, where his friends were talking about they're gonna bang Hayley and change the show's history and change the plot of the show. And he's like, just ha 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 ha. And Hayley's aunt was spot on when she said, they don't talk to you like that unless that's who you are. Yeah, that is the kind of person that Killian is. And like I said last time, trash. Some of y'all got mad at me for saying that these men were trash. The behavior they have displayed is trash. Okay, like I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. When the women start acting up, I'm gonna call them out on it too. There is no bias here. That's so problematic. Like the whole entire conversation, the pictures that she has is so problematic. Him being mad, or I guess agreeing with his friends, being like it's really effed up that she's not putting out. She doesn't know you. And even if she did know you, you're not entitled to her body. Like, I don't understand. Actually, I do understand where that mindset comes from, but we really need to get rid of that mindset that men are entitled to women's bodies. You're not entitled to anyone's body, ever. So Hayley told Blake what Killian said, like in the group messages, and the whole thing about if she wasn't modest, he would have effed her by now with how Ashley's acting. Blake tells Ashley. Ashley wants to hear it from Hayley. They get on the phone. Ashley is now talking to Killian face to face. And Killian is like, um, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. We don't have like video evidence of him saying that, but based on his character, I'm willing to believe that he did say that or some variant of that, especially because he has cheated on her in the past. And we don't know what his motivation for cheating in the past was, but we know he's jealous. We know he's insecure. Those two things combined, along with his history of cheating on her, lead me to believe he would do this to be petty and out of spite. Those are the only things that I can put together to choose who to believe in this situation. But he also has the text messages. And what does bother me is that he is like, I wasn't really part of that conversation. And he shows Ashley the messages and he's like, I did laugh. And she's fine with that. And that does bother me because Ashley, why are you fine with his friends saying stuff like that about another woman and him laughing about it? Would you not want to be with the man who would shut something like that down? Because it could very well be you. I know in your head, you're probably like, oh, he would never let them talk about me like that. You don't know that. You don't know that. And based on how he's acting right now, if he's willing to let them talk about Hayley like that, he's probably willing to let them talk about you like that. And he's probably not going to shut it down no matter who it is. And that's a problem. And as a woman, you should not be okay with guys talking about another woman that way. But it seems like you're fine with it as long as it's not you. And it also seems like you're way more hung up on the fact that Hayley said that he would have effed her by now. The whole situation is problematic. I don't like the whole picking and choosing what part you want to be mad about. Like, be mad about the entire thing. Be mad about who he is showing himself to be. David and Monica are meeting at a restaurant with Monica's parents. And I think that David truly needed to hear everything that Monica's dad was saying because he expressed that Monica's been able to get him to open up more in this short period of time than Casey has. And he then goes on to explain a little bit of how he was raised and that he saw his parents divorcing, marrying, and whatnot. And he was saying, divorce hurts everybody around you, not just you. And so he's really scared of being divorced. And her dad then says, that's similar to how I was raised. And when I was young, I realized I wanted to be different. So you can't just live your life in fear of that. You have to take control and do what you want to do. So if you want to get married, get married. And I think that's exactly what David needed to hear, truly, because I agreed. I said the same thing I think like episode 1. So I hope he like heeds that advice because David and Monica are not going to stay together. I think we all know that. But if he goes back to Casey, I really hope that he takes that advice that Monica's dad gave him, and I hope that he acts on it. Like, if you want to marry her, do it. Do it, David. With the advice that Blake is giving Ashley, how are you in the situation that you were in, Blake? Like, I don't understand because you are coming across so emotionally mature, emotionally aware, where she is sitting here talking about, oh, maybe it's my fault that Killian is being this way. And he's like, you're not responsible for someone else's actions. You're not. Like, and then he's like, oh, maybe it's like Stockholm syndrome in a way. And what he's describing, I'm like, but aren't you kind of in the same situation, just a little bit different? Like, you're not necessarily saying that you feel bad because of how Hayley acts, but you were also still with her despite how she acts. And you know that you're not being treated well. You even said that you're going to have a conversation after this because, like, there needs to be some serious accountability and change. But I just am like, Blake, it seems like you were so there. Like, mentally, it seems like you were so there. But you can't pull your own self out of your own situation. Like, you're not in a healthy relationship either. And I do hope that maybe this will be his wake up call to realize this is not the relationship I actually thought I wanted to be in. I don't know. But I can tell you what, with Ashley right now, it's falling on deaf ears. It's going in one ear and out the other. She's not going to leave Killian. I can almost guarantee it. She's not leaving him. Luke and Casey are at a Mexican restaurant. They're having this conversation about how Luke wants to be more confident in every aspect of his relationship with Monica and how he feels like he can't really do that now. And I am just wondering why. Like, what is it about your relationship with Monica that you feel like you can't be confident? Because Casey said, oh, you feel like you've been very confident with me. And he's like, yeah, I have. I've been working on it. And it's like, okay, but what is it about Monica that you feel like you can't be that way? Is it the fact that you guys have had that conversation about if you let yourselves go, the other person's going to be icked out? Like, does that add a layer to it? Because it's like, okay, obviously I must not be fully good enough if you're willing to just let it go over that. Or what is it? And my thing is, I do feel like and fully believe that if you are in a relationship with the right person, you don't have like this lack of confidence because that other person has not given you a reason to lack any confidence in that relationship. You never feel like your place is at risk. You never feel like you could be replaced, you could be disposed of. You don't feel that way. There is a sense of security which aids in creating that feeling and sense of confidence. I hope that makes sense. But I just feel like that is kind of maybe a warning sign on his behalf that he does not feel confident with Monica. And that he also made a point to say he wants to be a king and he wants to feel like he can put a woman up on a pedestal for her to be the queen, but she's also still going to reach down and be like, hey, you come up here with me. And that makes me believe that he puts Monica on a pedestal and she doesn't do the same for him, which I do believe because meeting with her parents, she was like, I just feel like Luke isn't growing fast enough. So obviously there is a sense of she feels like he is lacking in things, and that is probably also what contributes to his lack of confidence in his relationship with her. Hayley and Killian are having a conversation in their kitchen that is only captured by like the security camera, interior camera, whatever it is that's in their apartment. Number one, Hayley's little matching set, super duper cute. I would love it. I want to know where she got it. But Killian is gaslighting her to the ends of the earth. Because remember when he met with Ashley about what Hayley said that he had said? He was like, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Hayley brings it up and he's like, I don't remember. I don't remember clearly. And then he says, I don't remember conversations. And it's like, why don't you remember conversations? And then it hit me. You don't remember conversations because you conveniently choose not to. Like, you're choosing not to remember conversations, and then you're gaslighting a person who does remember a conversation. Because this is not the first time that he's gaslit her. And as she's like, this is not, you're a completely different person than you were at the beginning. He's like, and you are too. Why would you, you're gaslighting her. And she's like, how am I a different person? He's like, look at you now. And she's like, yeah, because you're disrespecting me. I'm sorry, but so far Hayley has been the exact same person that she's been this entire time. Minus when she was talking to Blake at the first like cocktail party. But with Killian, Hayley has been the exact same person. Him trying to spin it on her and say, oh, you're a completely different person too. No, you're gaslighting her. You're trying to flip it so that now the focus is on her. You're trying to blame her for everything that's going on. This is all you're doing, sir. This is all you're doing. And you're showing your true colors. Like, yeah, you're trying to gaslight her. And I feel bad for Ashley in a way because I'm like, God, if he's doing this much in like 2 weeks with Hayley, imagine what in the world you're going through yearly with him. I understand why your dad doesn't like him for good reason. Ah, so the truth comes out. The truth comes out. So Blake and Ashley are at dinner with Ashley's parents. And remember, Killian is the one who asked her dad for Ashley's hand in marriage. He got the approval and then it got revoked. At the pool party, Killian said it's because Ashley went to go work for her dad, decided she didn't want to, they moved, and her family blamed him. However, the real truth just came out from her dad himself because Blake was like, so what happened? And I'm glad he asked that question. So dad says, yeah, I have a way that I want my daughter to be treated and I want her to be respected. And I just don't feel like he was doing that. I don't feel like he was treating her the way that he should be treating her. And I don't feel like he's the right person. And dad's not wrong. He's not wrong at all. Actually, kudos to dad for being like, no, I'm taking that back. And dad even said, actually this has been really good for you to be with Blake, living with Blake, being paired with him, so that you can start to learn some things for yourself. And Ashley's like, yeah, I'm learning how to stand up for myself. We will really see. Because the true test will be once you get paired back up with Killian. I'm not convinced right now. I'm really not. But I am glad that we got the real truth. So Killian was lying at the pool party. Which, of course, right? Of course. So before we get any further, we need to talk about what in the world's going on with David and Monica. They're at brunch or breakfast right now, having a conversation around having girlfriends and guy friends while you're in a relationship. And David says he used to have girlfriends while he was in a relationship, but he got rid of them because he's in a relationship. And Monica was like, okay, so what if like you've known them for a long time, like you grew up with them, that's not okay? And he was like, no. And she was like, okay, well, I have a friend, a close guy friend that I've had since 8th grade, and I like to go visit him. That would be a problem for you? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And as they start getting more into it, he then starts saying some things that I'm like, you're really throwing up some red flags here, David, because he is saying, Monica says, okay, so you don't trust your partner. And David says, I don't trust the people around my partner. And to me, that is still you not trusting your partner. Like, if that is a friend that they have had for a long time, you don't trust your partner's judgment in making friends. If you don't trust the friend that is your partner's friend. Like, that is exactly how I take it. And I also think that's how Monica was taking it. And he was like, I would have to go with you. And she's like, what? And I feel the exact same way because if I am going to go visit one of my friends, I don't want you there necessarily all the time. Like, you're not going to understand the inside jokes. You're just going to be a third wheel and it's going to be awkward. If you have hung out with like one of your close friends and there has been somebody there who doesn't really know both of you that well, it is always a little bit awkward because you can't have that same dynamic that you're very used to having because now you have this extra person who is not familiar with this dynamic. And especially if it's somebody who's insecure and is there because they are insecure, it's going to make this whole thing very weird because now it's going to feel like walking on eggshells. You got to make sure you don't say the wrong thing. Oh, I don't know if I can hug you because he might get pissed off. And David tries to be like, oh, it's because I want to make sure that you're safe. Like, what happens? And Monica raised a good point. Well, you're traveling most of the time. So what if something happens while you're gone? You can't always be there to protect her. Like, you can't be in control of everything. And he's like, well, I just don't like it. You know what? Fine if you don't like it. But this is one of those things that is like, you obviously are not compatible. If you are a person who has the views that David has and is like, my girlfriend cannot have guy friends, then you are not compatible with somebody who has guy friends and wants to keep their guy friends. And he was also trying to challenge her and say, so you would choose your friend over your partner? Yeah. If we have made it to this point, because obviously we're not married if we're still having this conversation, right? We must be like still in the earlier stages of dating if we are having this conversation. I'm going to say I'm going to choose my friend over this guy who is making these demands. Because any guy who is right for me is not going to feel the way that you feel. And that's one of those things where it's like, okay, you might not initially think of this as a deal breaker when you're like going through your list of things, but as this comes up in a relationship, you are going to realize it is a deal breaker. I do not like partners who try to keep you from your friends, who make you lose friends, who try to isolate you, who say you can't have certain friends or they need to be present with certain friends. Do you trust me or do you not? Because if you trust me, then you trust my judgment and my friends. And it's simple as that. It is simple as that. If they do not trust you and they don't trust your judgment and friends, I would begin questioning that relationship. Blake and Ashley are at the pool. I had to pause before he answers this question. And Ashley asked Blake, now that you know me and Killian, is there a way that you can see us together? Or are you like, I don't know how they could be together? And I want to answer this question before Blake does, because my answer is yes, I can absolutely see how you're together. Because you're a pushover. And Killian is somebody who wants to walk all over somebody. That is like his dream. Like, you are his dream person because you don't push back on him. That is his issue with Hayley, is that Hayley is not going to just lay there and take it. And that is what he is looking for. You are just laying there and taking it. You let him say whatever it is that he wants to say and you just believe it. You go with it. You're not really asking questions. You're not really pushing back. Yeah, I could absolutely see how you guys are together. It makes perfect sense to me. It's not a healthy relationship by any means, but it makes perfect sense to me. Actually, I know you're lying. I know you are lying. You have to be. You have to be lying. It has to be you lying or it has to be the editing. I refuse to believe that this is truly your answer. I refuse. Blake just asked her, if you had a daughter, he was talking about the movie It Ends With Us, but that part's kind of irrelevant. So he was like, if you had a daughter and she was being treated this way, what advice would you give her? And she says, I would tell her, just remember that there's so much more good than bad and don't focus on the bad. I know you are lying. I know you are. There is no way in any world that you would sit around and watch your child be treated the way you're being treated and you'd be like, but there's so much more good to him than bad. There's no way. No, I refuse to accept that that is your real and true, like, honest answer. I refuse. And if it is, I'm going to need an intervention to happen. They need to pull her out of that relationship and she needs intense therapy. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I am so hoping that the day comes when you do have a child, I hope your perspective changes. And that is not the advice that you would give your child. I hope to God that that is not actually what you would say to your kid. No one deserves to be treated the way that you're being treated. And the fact that you are so, like, warped mentally in this toxic relationship that you're like, there's just so much more good than bad. And that's what I told my kid. Absolutely not. Blake literally called y'all fatal attraction. Do you know what fatal means? It means dead. That's what it means. That's what it means. You guys are one of those couples that it easily could happen to be that way. This is not something to be playing around with, talking about there's so much more good than bad. No, absolutely not. And Blake looks truly concerned, as he should. As he should. No, I hope she does not tell anybody that. That is not okay. Well, it's ladies' night, and to be honest, they may as well go ahead and send Ashley and Killian home. I don't know what the point of them still being on the show is if Ashley is unwilling to change in any type of possible way. Hayley is giving the girls all together a rundown of what's been going on with Killian. She is telling them about the text messages again. She's telling them about the comment that he made in bed again. And Casey and Monica are just appalled. They are disgusted, as they should be. And Ashley's just sitting there, not really saying anything. And you can see on her face that she is more so taking issue with the fact that Hayley is saying all this about Killian than about Killian's actions. And Hayley's like, once you cross me, I'm done. Like, I would want to know if this stuff was being said. I would want to know if this is being said about another woman. Like, this is not okay. And now she's just like, yeah, like, you don't have enough energy behind this for me. You really don't. And if you're unwilling to change and grow, then why are you here? You and Killian are going to end up being the exact same people that you were when you walked in here. So you guys can also leave. Again, they should have just left the season on the floor. They didn't need to air it. So at guys' night, Blake obviously brings up what's been going on with Hayley and Killian, as to be expected. And I just think it's very funny and telling that David and Luke's reaction was not to believe Killian. I think that was just so funny because Blake goes into, his friend said they want to gangbang her. And David is like, that's disgusting. That's not okay. Exactly. That is the reaction and energy I need from people around this. Not Killian's little reaction. And he's like, I just wanted to let her know that I didn't say those things. But you didn't shut it down either, Killian. You didn't shut it down. Your friend should not be comfortable saying stuff like that. You should not be associating with people who talk like that about people, like women, men, anyone. Anyone. Nobody should be talking about any other person like that. Okay? And they should not feel comfortable talking to you about a person like that unless you are a person that's like that. And then it follows up with Blake mentioning the whole if you weren't as modest whole conversation. And Killian goes, I mean, does that even sound like something I would say? And Luke's face was like, and I said, exactly, Luke. Exactly. Exactly. Because you can't sit here and say this doesn't sound like anything you would say when you were just in a group message that was talking like that. It does sound like something you would say. And then instead of saying, I 100% sure did not say that, he then says, I don't talk like that to girls. I just find it hard to believe that I would have said that because I don't talk like that to girls. So you talk like that. You do talk. You just said, do I even sound like I talk like that? And now you're like, but I don't talk like that to girls. So you do talk like that. We're all inclined to believe Hayley. We're all inclined to believe Hayley. And then you're like, well, I'm about like 95% because I just don't talk like that. Like, I'm sorry, Killian. You're guilty. You're guilty. So we're wrapping up the guys' night out and the girls' night out. And the guys, I mean, they're having conversations, mainly David and Luke, about Monica and whatever. But I think that the main focus needs to be on the conversation that Casey and Monica have over at girls' night about Luke. Because I don't think that Monica realizes and is willing to grow with her partner in a marriage. I think she is wanting someone who is already coming nicely packaged with a bow on top, who doesn't need to grow and still establish themselves because she doesn't want to wait for Luke to become a firefighter. She's like, I kind of like am happy that he doesn't have a plan B, but at the same time I need to know that like he is going to be able to provide for me and our family. And it's like you don't have a family yet. You don't. There is still time. He hasn't even failed being a firefighter and you're already talking about him as if he has failed. As if he's not going to be a firefighter. You're like, if the firefighter thing doesn't work out, then he needs to take these skills and figure out a different career path. And it's like, why are you so willing and quick to give up on him? If you really love him and you want to spend a life with him, why are you not willing to help him reach his goals? Grow with him. You're young. Grow with him. Like, it's not realistic for people their age to already have their lives, careers, everything figured out and nicely packaged with a nice little bow on top, and them to come together and have a nice little relationship that doesn't need any work, any growing, none of it. And that is what she is expecting. But also, you have been with him for a while. You know what he's working towards. He's about to go take his test once, I guess, a couple days after they swap back or something. But stop talking about him as if he's already failed. And if this is the way that you talk to him, then his confidence issues, I fully understand. He's put you here and you're just like, yeah, you might be a failure. You might have to give up on your firefighter dream so that you can provide for me and our family. And Luke did say something interesting, which he did not elaborate on when he was talking to David. And he said that the last year has been really tough, financially and emotionally. But it seems like Monica is only harping on the last year and is ignoring the boyfriend and man that he has been for the 3 years before last year. And it's just like, I fully see that. Based on the way that she is talking to Casey, I see that. Just started episode 6. And Ashley, you're becoming pretty problematic right now. You are becoming pretty problematic because she's saying that last night Blake told her, this is what she's saying, is that Blake told her, Killian said that he did say that about Hayley and that he apologized for it. Blake did not say that. Blake said he pretty much admitted it. And when Blake then explains again, he's like, maybe I wasn't clear, but just to clarify this up for you, he didn't come right out and say, I did say that. He just said, maybe I did say it. And she's like, well, now you're backtracking. And then now she's trying to flip it onto Hayley and Blake. And it is just like, you are a problem. Ashley, you are a problem because why are you now trying to pin this on Hayley? Saying that Hayley talking to Killian about her and Blake's sex life is the reason that Killian's getting insecure and jealous. That's not the reason. It's not. And just because what Hayley and Blake do has nothing to do with you, that does not mean that Blake wants to do any of that with you. So that's also a very bold assumption on your part that that's exactly what that would mean, because that's not what that automatically means. You're starting to show signs. You're showing some real red flag signs right now. I had a feeling it was coming though. I had a feeling. Oh, Ashley. Oh, Ashley. I need to call you up to the front right now because that conversation between you and Blake at the pizza place, that was not it. That was not it whatsoever. At all. So they're sitting down. Apparently, Blake has been giving her some space. And she was like, I didn't mean for you to leave me alone. Okay, fine, simple misunderstanding, whatever, whatever. She then accuses him of being with Hayley for the last 2 days. And he's like, where's your proof of that? And she immediately is like going into her mind of being like, I'm right, I'm right, I'm right. And eventually is like, you didn't even deny it. You just said, where's the proof? And he's like, okay, well, the answer is no. Like, I told you yesterday I was going to the movies. And she was like, by yourself? And he was like, yeah, by myself. Like, that makes sense. And she was like, sure. And he's like, is it weird to do things by yourself? No, it's not weird to do things by yourself. I've gone to the movies by myself before, many a times. Like, there's nothing wrong with going to the movies by yourself. It's weird to her because she's not going to do it. She would rather believe that you're out here doing her wrong than to believe that you are actually a good guy and that you were not with Hayley and that you were doing exactly what you said. So then he's like, okay, well, I haven't brought up things that, I could bring up about you, like the fact that you stayed the night with Killian. And she's like, why are you trying to flip this back on me right now? I don't like it. And then she starts crying. Ashley, with all due respect, I understand where you're trying to pull that from because you're like, Killian does this to me too. I understand where you're trying to pull that from. But to Blake's point right here, what is happening is you're bringing up something that you were incorrect about, that you're trying to put him on blast about, make him out to be a bad person. That whole thing is settled. And now he has brought up a separate issue, and you're trying to say that it is now him throwing something back on you. And he said that he could have let this go. But he feels like if you want to bring it up, he's going to bring it up. And he is well within his right to bring something like that up. So I don't fault him at all. If you were staying the night with Killian, that is a problem. We already know you've been talking to him. We already know you met up with him. It's not that far-fetched to believe that you were staying the night with him a couple times. Blake is well within his right to feel the way that he feels. And you're like, but this is just not fair. And it's not fair to Blake for him to feel like he can't bring stuff up to you. And that's the point that he makes, is that he also wants to be validated. He gets to validate your feelings, but he should also feel comfortable bringing things up to you and his feelings being validated and heard. And at the end of it, you're like, well, I guess I misread that. This must all be like a misunderstanding. Yeah, where's the sorry? Where's the apology to Blake? Huh? Because you owe him one. You need to go to therapy. You don't need to be getting married. You need to go to therapy because your behavior is not okay. And I'm sure that a lot of it is learned behavior from your relationship with Killian, considering how long you guys have been together. But both of you, separately, you and Killian, both need to go to therapy. You don't need to be together trying to do this. You need to go to therapy. This is just a side note because David and Monica's conversation was a real nothing burger. But the obsession with being so fit and healthy is driving me insane. It's been mentioned every single episode. And I'm like, at what point are we just going to let this narrative go? Because there's so many other important things you should be factoring in to your partner, your spouse, potentially, than if they are fit. Like, I'm sorry, but the way a person looks, if they're fat, if they're skinny, if they're chunky, should be the least interesting thing about them. I don't think Blake needed to rehash the conversation that they just had at the pizza place. I think he could have just let it be. I think his first point was valid, where he was saying, it's appropriate to get defensive if you feel like your integrity, your morals, your values are being challenged. That point is valid. The second point, I don't think he needed to add. I think that's where the conversation took a turn. I'm not going to call that point manipulative, but that point is problematic to me, where he brings up the fact that when she accused him of going to movies with Hayley and she was like, you didn't even deny it. All you said was, where's the proof? And he was like, well, in the United States of America, the burden of proof is on you. And it's just like, we're not in a court case right now, Blake. We're literally just at a pizza place having a conversation about like what she believed was happening. So I don't think we need to go to that extreme. I think that was a very far leap. The conversation then it just gets worse because she then says, I feel I'm sorry if you feel like, and that's when he was like, well, I don't feel like I was attacked. I was attacked. And she was like, well, that's and he told her that that's manipulative. And she was like, so you're calling me manipulative? And this is where it's kind of like, I see both sides. And I do think that they're both very much in the wrong. I don't think this conversation needed to be had at all. But yes, she shouldn't have said, I'm sorry you feel attacked. Like, she didn't need to say that. Because it's very clear that he did feel attacked. And honestly, you did kind of attack him. So both of you are kind of in the right here. Where I do think the conversation really should have ended was when she said that she feels like her emotions are being heightened right now. And Blake then responds with, okay, well, if you don't have the emotional capacity to have this conversation right now, I don't think that Ashley understands what emotional capacity means. I don't know what she thinks it means, but it's very clear that she did not understand what that meant because her reaction to it was very drastic and she was like, well, that's manipulative. That's now you're using my emotions against me. And it's like, that's actually not what he was doing. Your emotional capacity is like, what is your bandwidth right now to truly have this conversation in a productive way? You just said that your feelings are heightened, which is what he was trying to explain to her, is that you just said that your feelings are heightened. So do you really have the capacity to have this conversation? And instead, she was then like, I was just about to pull up my notebook and tell you all the great things I wrote down about you. That's kind of manipulative. Why would you then bring that up to be like, well, now I'm going to withhold this? Like, I'm sorry, Ashley, but now you are being manipulative. You are. You are showing all these traits. And anytime that it seems like you're being challenged and what you believe to be true is being challenged, it seems like you cry and you walk away and you say you're not having this conversation anymore. That's exactly what it seems like. Because this is now what, the third time that you've done this? The second or third time? Like, you have so much to say about so much, but as soon as you are being pushed, you are being challenged, you are being called out for being in the wrong, you then want to cry, walk away, say that you're not having this conversation anymore. In this case, say, well, I said all these nice things about you. Does him expressing his feelings invalidate all those nice feelings that you had about him? Because if that's the case, then those feelings weren't real. They weren't genuine. They weren't authentic. You're using this like a weapon, and that's manipulative. This is where she draws the line. Really, Ashley? Really? So now you're going to leave your trial marriage over this conversation? You're mad that he called you manipulative. And yeah, he did do a little bit of manipulation himself in that conversation. But just because you don't like what he called you, you're out. You're out. And you're like, I deserve better than this. Okay, yeah, let's see that energy that you have when it comes to Killian. Because he's going to be worse. So Hayley and Killian had like a go-kart date, and now they're having a conversation afterwards in which Killian says that he now realizes that he does have a problem that he needs to work on, because now that he sees the way that he's acted with Hayley, he's realizing it's not just actually making him act the way he acts. It just truly is the way that he responds to things and reacts. And he feels like part of the issue is that he has not put in extra effort. Hayley's like, I agree, you haven't been there for me. Like, I've had to learn how to fill my own cup, put on my big girl pants, and be there for myself because you were not there for me. At the end of the conversation, they end up apologizing to each other for the way this experience has gone. Hayley says it's not going to be smooth sailing when they go back to their original partners, and I agree. It's not going to be. It's going to be a mess. But to be honest, I don't think that Ashley is going to stand up to Killian the way that she's trying to make it seem. So we're at the changeover. They're going over what they've learned from people. It's really giving not a lot right now, but I know that they're just waiting for Killian, Hayley, Blake, Ashley. Ashley, we should pull the cameras because that is what you said. That is what you said. You said that by Hayley talking to Killian about Hayley and Blake's sex life, it is making Killian insecure and jealous. That is what you said. We can pull the cameras. Girl, it's what you said, and just in the last episode. Ashley is manipulative. She is. She likes to run her mouth, and then she likes to try and say, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. She's her and Killian are very similar in that aspect. But Ashley, you're on a show where you're being filmed. The cameras, they caught that conversation. That is what you said. You did call her manipulative. You did say there was manipulation there. You did. You did. Ashley, those tears may have worked for you every other time in the past, but that time ends now. You are on a show where you are being filmed constantly. You have been caught on camera. You told them to pull the tapes. They pulled the tapes. You are manipulative. You are. And every time you get called out for your behavior, you want to cry and you want to say, I'm done with this. I'm not having this conversation. And then you want to try and pick on a person, in this case, Blake, and say, every time you get called out, you like to try and flip it on somebody else. No, Ashley. Actually, no. This is you right now. You are projecting a lot. You are trying to pick somebody to flip it back on. As Hayley said, you are victimizing yourself. You got caught up in the crossfire because now you're being called out on your part in all of this drama, which you're not an innocent bystander the way you're trying to make it seem. You're not. You are just as guilty as Killian is. You did sit on that bench and tell Blake that by Hayley talking to Killian about Hayley and Blake's sex life, that it is making Killian insecure. You may not have said the words manipulative. You may not have said Hayley is being manipulative, but you did say there is manipulation going on behind the scenes. And what you did say about Hayley talking to Killian about that, you were implying that she is being manipulative. You may not have said that exact word. That way you can sit in this exact moment and say, I didn't say she was manipulative. I didn't say she was manipulative. You don't have to say that exact word. We all know what you meant. We all know what you meant. You are not a victim in this. You're not. I was feeling so bad for you earlier because of the person that you were with. I don't anymore. It is all making perfect sense as to how the two of you are together. It is. I can see the circle that happens right now in front of my face. I can see it because once you get called out and you realize that you're in the wrong, you want to try and flip it. You want to try and put it on somebody else. You want to cry and see if that can get you out of it. No, Hayley's not letting you get out of it that easy, and I can't blame her. I am so glad that she is holding you to the fire on this because no, you do not just get to lie your way out of this to make it seem like you're innocent in all of this. You don't. We all saw it. You are manipulative. Killian is manipulative. You are also manipulative. Both things can be true, okay? My God, I did not see this coming. I did not see you becoming one of the villains. I didn't. But man, it happened so fast and it escalated quickly. Anyway, that is the Ultimatum season 4 episodes 5 and 6. I guess it's picking up. I guess. This is still not the drama I'm really looking for, but I guess I'll take it. These people are a piece of work. They need so much intense therapy, though. Not marriage. Therapy. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be back probably tomorrow with episodes 7 and 8. And then on, what is it, the 23rd for the reunion and finale recap. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.